witnesses. Plaintiff counsel.
Hi, Your Honor. We would like to discuss some pretrial matters. It's okay?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask the court to take notice that Exhibits 1, 22, and 23 have been pre-admitted into evidence pursuant to Evidentiary Rule 11.
So noted.
Your Honor, we'd like to ask that stipulations already be considered a part of the record, but while we reserve the right to cite them at relevant times, not to read into the record at this time.
Got it.
And we ask that we may introduce ourselves.
Please do so.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and members of the jury. I am Claudio, and I will be the plaintiff counsel in today's case.
Thank you. Do you have any other pretrial matters?
No, Your Honor. That is all.
Thank you. Thank you. Defense counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Victoria Smith, and today I am joined by my second chair, Mr. Nathan Mahari.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good to see you. Plaintiff counsel, do you want to introduce your second chair?
Yes, Your Honor. This is my second chair, Bridget McNulty.
Good to see you. With that, are there any other pretrial matters?
None for plaintiff.
Hearing none, I'd ask everybody to move to speaker view, and plaintiff counsel, you may give your opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court. Two young 19-year-old girls enter Sonny's bar. One of those girls is less than 5 feet tall and around 110 pounds. And Sonny's bar serves them alcoholic drinks. They don't serve them one drink. They don't serve them 2 drinks. They serve them 7 alcoholic drinks and a bottle of wine. At the end of the night, one of those girls, Jessica Marks, is found to have a blood alcohol content of 0.16. That means that her blood alcohol content is 16 times the legal amount for a minor. Because Sonny's bar continued to sell all that alcohol to Jessica Marks, she ended up dead later that night. Because Sonny's bar never cut her off. Members of the jury, today we have to prove to you 3 things. Number 1, we have to prove to you that Sonny's bar served Jessica Marks when she was a minor. Now, this fact is undisputed. As the judge will instruct you, this is a fact in today's case. Number 2, we have to prove to you that when Sonny's bar served Jessica Marks, she was obviously intoxicated. Number 3, we have to prove to you that because Sonny's bar served Jessica Marks, they were a substantial factor in her death. Now, today we have to prove this to you by the preponderance of the evidence, which means all we have to do is tip the scales ever so slightly in our favor. All we have to do is prove to you these 3 things are more likely than not, and we will meet our burden. Now, what is an obviously intoxicated person? Well, an obviously intoxicated person is somebody who is under the influence, who displays slurring words, alcoholic breath, bloodshot eyes, struggling to walk, and is loud and boisterous. And today, Morgan Levin, Jessica Marks' best friend, who was with her all night, will tell you that Jessica Marks displayed almost all of those symptoms. Morgan will tell you that from the moment they arrived at Sonny's bar, she started to look drunk. She will tell you that all throughout the night, Sonny's bar never looked twice at Jessica Marks. Sonny continued to serve Jessica Marks and allowed her to get more and more drunk. They never cut her off. Now, you will hear that later on in the night, Jessica Marks falls down the stairs. You see, Jessica Marks cannot even make it out down the stairs without stumbling, members of the jury. She falls directly into Sunny Maida's arms. And Sunny Maida, after that happened, continues to serve Jessica Marks and allows Jessica Marks to just get more and more drunk, members of the jury. At the end of the night, okay, the last thing that Sunny's bar serves Jessica Marks is a shot. They serve her a shot. Soon after, she gets in her car. She barely makes 1,000 feet off the lot. And then she drives into a ravine and dies. Jessica Marks is gone today because Sunny's bar never cut her off. And they let her get more and more drunk. Find Sunny's bar liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, I'll ask defense counsel to come on screen and deliver their opening.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may proceed.
Choices. That's what this case is about. More specifically, Jessica Marks's choices on March 24th, 2019. Members of the jury, what happened to Jessica Marks is truly devastating. This young girl died way too soon. But today, you need to separate your feelings from the facts, because the evidence will show that Sunny's rooftop bar is not at fault, but rather it was Miss Marks's own choices that led to her heartbreaking death. Let's discuss some of the choices that Miss Marks made on March 24th. That night starts with Miss Marks inviting her best friend Morgan Lever, an oven, to her house, her Airbnb that she's renting for spring break. The two 19-year-olds share a few drinks, have a good time, prepping to enjoy the break that they've been looking forward to. That night, they choose to drink before they decide to drive over to Sunny's rooftop bar. Once they're at the bar, the two choose to use their fake IDs, the fake IDs that they had used at several other locations during that same trip. After this, they choose to drink more and more and more. The night ends when Miss Marks chooses to get behind the wheel of her car, turn on the ignition, and drive away, endangering herself and everyone on the road. Now, all of these choices have something in common. Sunny's rooftop bar could not control any of them. More specifically, Sunny's rooftop bar could not control 3 of Jessica Marks's choices. First, Sunny's rooftop bar could not control the fact that Miss Marks had chosen to get a fake ID. Today, you will hear from Morgan Levin, Miss Marks's best friend. Miss Levin will tell you about how Miss Marks had purchased them both fake IDs. They had used these fake IDs at several other locations, with not a single one ever saying no when they tried to use. The second choice that the Sunny's rooftop bar could not control is how much Miss Marks chose to drink on March 24th. Miss Levin will also tell you today how her and Miss Marks drank at the Airbnb before they ever even came to Sunny's. And you will hear how Miss Levin even saw an empty wine bottle before she actually arrived at the Airbnb herself. You will also hear from Sunny Mehta, the main bartender working at Sunny's rooftop bar on March 24th. Today, Miss Mehta will tell you how she saw no signs of obvious intoxication with Miss Marks on the 24th. She did everything within her control. She did everything she was required to do. And the third and final choice that the bar could not control is Miss Marks chose to get in her car and drive after drinking. The evidence will show that Miss Marks insisted on getting behind the wheel of her car. She insisted on going home. She refused to get in the Uber with her best friend. That was Miss Marks's choice. And while heartbreaking, it wasn't the fault of the bar. Now, the plaintiff has the burden of proof today, which is preponderance of the evidence. meaning that they have to prove it was more likely than not that Sunny's rooftop bar is at fault. But they can't do that because this case is about Miss Marks's choices. At the end of today's trial, I will ask you to find Sunny Rooftop Bar not liable.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, I'll ask everybody to switch to gallery view. And plaintiff counsel, you may call your witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Morgan Levin to the stand.
Morgan Levin is called.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Morgan Levin.
And why are you here today, Miss Levin?
I'm here today to testify about what I saw on March 24, 2019.
And were you with Jessica Marks on March 24th?
Yes, we both went to Sunny's Rooftop Bar that night.
And would you recognize a picture of Jessica Marks?
Yes,
I'm now asking my co-counsel to screen share Exhibit 2. I'm now showing you Exhibit 2. What is this picture?
it's a picture of Jessica at our grad night. I remember in June of 2018. She looked so happy.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of Jessica Marks?
Yes,
I'm now entering Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Defense counsel, is there any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
The exhibit is received.
Miss Levin, how did you know Jessica?
Jessica and I were best friends for such a long time, ever since junior high. We did everything together.
And can you just describe what Jessica Marks looked like, please?
Jessica Marks was fun and energetic and had such a nice personality. Really clicked, and we knew that she had goals and really wanted her life to be special.
My screen sharing may stop screen sharing Exhibit 2 at this time. Now, I would like to talk to you about the night of March 24th. Now, where did you see Jessica Marks on the night of March 24th?
I went to her Airbnb in Brentwood. She visited me in LA for spring break.
And did you and Jessica decide to go anywhere that night?
Yes, we decided to go to Sunny's Rooftop Bar.
And when you arrived at Sunny's Rooftop Bar, how did Jessica act?
Well, Jessica seemed to have some of the signs of intoxication. You see, she had a couple of drinks before we went to Sunny's Rooftop Bar, and her eyes were becoming a little bloodshot. She was loud and seemed to be affecting her with alcohol.
Now, I would like to talk to you about the events that happened at the bar on the night of March 24th. What happened once you went inside the bar?
Once we were inside the bar, we went to the rooftop and we were served by Miss Sunny Mehta.
And did you order anything that night?
Yes, we ordered several drinks and some guacamole and chips.
And would you recognize your receipt from that night?
Yes, I would.
I now ask my co-counsel to screen share Exhibit 17 at this time. I'm showing you Exhibit 17. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
Well, it's the receipt of our order, mine and Miss Jessica Marks's, on March 24th, 2019, at Sunny's Rooftop Bar.
And who gave you this receipt?
Miss Mehta, the
And is-
owner of the rooftop bar.
And is this a fair and accurate copy of this receipt?
Yes,
I now move to enter Exhibit 17 into evidence.
Defense counsel, is there any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
The exhibit is received.
Now, Ms. Levin, is this the receipt for March 24th?
yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me what drinks you ordered that night that are listed on this receipt?
I ordered the Ballast Point IPA draft, a pint of beer. I had a glass of wine and I had a green tea shot.
And are there any drinks on this receipt that weren't ordered?
Yes, I found out that Jessica had a rum and Coke that night as well, but it wasn't on the receipt.
And who gave Jessica that rum and Coke?
One of the bartenders at Sunny's Rooftop Bar. His name is Frankfurt.
My co-counsel can now stop screen sharing Exhibit 17. Now, throughout the night, did Jessica Marks ever seem drunk?
Yes. The alcohol started to affect her really quickly. She was drunk when she got in. When she had more drinks, it just started to tell even more. She was really loud. She looked and sounded visibly drunk. She had red and watery eyes. She even stumbled once.
And what symptoms was she displaying?
Well, she had loss of balance. She had flushed cheeks and was speaking really loudly.
And did she ever fall that night?
Yes, she fell downstairs when we were going to use the restroom.
Can you tell me what happened when she fell?
Well, me and Jessica were going downstairs, and as Jessica was right behind me, she stumbled and she bumped into one of the bartenders, Sunny, and almost fell on her face.
And what time did this happen?
This happened around 11 p.m.
And was Jessica okay?
She didn't seem okay, no.
And what happened after you and Jessica left the bar?
Well, Jessica went outside and she just intended on driving herself home that night.
And what happened when she left the lot?
Well, I was right behind her in an Uber and I saw her car driving on the Pacific Coast Highway. But in a matter of moments, Jessica's car swerved and fell into a ravine. Her car was upside down.
And Miss Levin, did Sunny's Bar ever cut off Jessica Marks?
No, they never cut her off.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense counsel, you may cross-examine.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Marks visited you.
I'm sorry, plaintiff counsel, if you'd remain on screen, please.
May I
Thank you.
proceed?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Yep, you may proceed.
Ms. Marks visited you in LA in March of 2019, right?
Yes,
At this time, you were both 19 years old.
that's true.
And when Miss Marks came into town, she had an early birthday present for you, didn't she?
Yes,
And this was a fake ID?
yes, it was.
And Miss Marks also had a fake ID, didn't she?
She did. She bought me mine for fairly early 21st birthday present.
Objection, Your Honor.
What is your objection, counsel?
Your Honor, I'm objecting to relevance. Whether or not Jessica Marks gave Morgan Levin a birthday gift of a fake ID is not relevant in this case today. We're disputing whether or not Sunny's Bar and the events that happened in Sunny's Bar, not the birthday gift that Jessica Marks or that Morgan got or received.
Your Honor,
Defense counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Today, one of the key points that the defense is trying to rebut is that Sunny's Rooftop Bar served alcohol to an obviously intoxicated minor. In order to help rebut this evidence, we're bringing up the points of the fake ID to help highlight the fact that this was not, this is a foundational question that will be used for further questioning later on to help rebut that point.
Plaintiff counsel?
Your Honor, It's been already pre-ruled and it's undisputed the fact that Sonny's bar served a minor. Therefore, this is still not relevant and something we're discussing in this case today.
Defense counsel?
Your Honor, this is highly relevant and it's more probative than prejudicial, as this fake ID helps to show the trier of fact whether or not Sonny's Rooftop Bar was at fault for serving alcohol to Jessica Marks. One of the other points that we have to prove is whether or not it would be reasonable to believe she was intoxicated. By having this fake ID on hand, they would be able to figure out what different methods and strategies the bar went through to ensure that their customers were safe, including Jessica Marks.
The objection's overruled. We'll allow the question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, in March of 2019, both you and Miss Marks used your fake IDs, correct?
Yes, we went to some restaurants.
Right, you used these fake IDs at multiple establishments in LA.
Yes, that's true.
I want to talk about some of these establishments. You used your fake ID at Anna's Grilled Cheese,
Yes, on Monday.
Toby's Taps,
Yes.
Harper's,
Yes, ma'am.
Disneyland,
Yes,
and several other locations, correct?
that's true.
And all of these establishments saw Miss Marks's fake ID, right?
Yes, they did. She used them to get some drinks.
Right, and all of these establishments served Miss Marks alcohol after seeing the fake ID, correct?
That's true.
And after going to all these different restaurants and bars, Miss Marks would be the one to drive you both home, wouldn't she?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's your objection, counsel?
Your Honor, they're trying to use the fact that other restaurants okay these IDs, that it's okay for Sonny's Bar to okay these IDs and use it as evidence. Therefore, it's misleading to the jury to talk about events that happened prior and are not relevant or related to the events that happened at Sonny's Bar.
Counsel, your response.
Your Honor, this is going to the actions of Jessica Marks. By using her fake ID at these other locations, it helps establish the fact that Miss Marks was going to be using her fake ID at Sonny's Rooftop Bar on March 24th. This helps go to the fact that it was more of Jessica Marks' own negligence that caused this situation instead of Sonny's Rooftop Bar.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, whether or not Miss Jessica Marks used these fake IDs at other establishments does not relate to the events and what she did on March 24th, which is what we're discussing today in trial. What happened throughout the spring break does not go towards what Jessica Marks' actions are. And furthermore, I would object improper character evidence because they're trying to say that because she was negligent previously, she is negligent now.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Counsel, move on.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, after going out to all these bars, Miss Marks would drive home, wouldn't she?
Yes.
After she'd been drinking?
Well, Miss Marks only had,
Objection.
I'm sorry, counsel. What is your objection?
Your Honor, to improper character evidence. Once again, opposing counsel is trying to say because she drove home while she was drinking previously, that she did it again, which is improper character evidence under Rule 404.
Defense counsel, your response?
Your Honor, this question is simply a foundational question to show that Miss Marks had in fact been drinking in previous times, and it helps highlight the character of Miss Marks for the trier of fact.
Very well. I'm going to sustain the objection.
Now, Miss Marks, let's move on to March 24th, 2019. That day, Miss Marks picked you up at your dorm at 6 p.m.
yes, I remember.
And the two of you drove to her Airbnb, right?
Yes, we sat there and we chat for a while.
And the two of you drank at her Airbnb, right?
Yes, just 1 to 2 glasses of wine.
And after drinking, you and Miss Marks went to Sonny's Rooftop Bar.
Yes,
Miss Marks drove,
She did.
and you arrived at the bar at 9 p.m.
Yes.
And once you got to Sunny's rooftop bar, you both drank some more.
Yeah, we had several drinks that night.
You both drank from 9 p.m. to approximately 11:40.
Yes.
After that, you ordered an Uber.
Yeah, I wanted to get home safely.
You didn't trust yourself to drive.
Of course not. I didn't bring my car there, so I wouldn't have drove it anyway.
And Miss Marks didn't go with you in the Uber, did she?
No, she insisted on driving herself home.
Right, she refused.
That's right.
She demanded she drive herself home.
Yes, ma'am.
She even told you that she's gotten pretty good at driving after a night out, right?
Yes, I remember her telling me that.
She chose to drive after drinking.
She did. I just
Thank
wish she was in the Uber.
Thank you. No further questions.
Counsel, is there redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Miss Levin, had Jessica Marks already looked drunk when she was driving home?
Yes, Jessica looked very drunk. I mean, it was very apparent. She was talking loud. She had bloodshot eyes. She lost balance.
And before she drove home, was she already displaying signs of intoxication?
Yes, from the moment she stepped foot on Sunny's establishment to the moment she left, she looked intoxicated.
Thank you for your time, Miss Levin. No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense counsel, is there recross?
No recross, Your Honor.
Very well. The witness is excused. Defense counsel, you may call your witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Sunny Mehta to the stand.
Witness is called.
May I proceed?
You may.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good morning. My name is Sunny Mehta.
Can you tell the jury what you do for a living?
Well, I recently owned and was a bartender at Sunny's Rooftop Bar in California.
Were you working at your bar on March 24th, 2019?
Yes, I was. I was a bartender that evening.
Do you remember a customer by the name of Jessica Marks?
Yes, I do. She came into my bar on that night, and I was very upset to later learn that she passed away that evening.
Do you remember ever seeing Miss Marks before March 24th?
No, I hadn't. That was the first time I had ever seen her.
Do you remember what time Miss Marks came into Sunny's on the 24th?
I do. It was about 9 p.m.
And did you see how long she stayed?
She left just a little bit before midnight.
Do you remember how many people were working at Sunny's that day?
Yes, it was just me and Frankfurt Johnson, who's another one of our bartenders. On Sunday evenings, we're generally not super busy, so we were a little short-staffed.
Do you know if Miss Marks was with anyone when she came to your bar?
She was. She came in with Morgan Levin and spent the entire night with her.
And when you saw Miss Marks and Miss Levin walk into your bar, did you ask them for their IDs?
And no, not at that time. We don't ask anyone for their ID until they're actually ordering drinks.
And when you saw Miss Marks enter the bar, did she appear intoxicated to you?
No, she didn't. She was not displaying any of the traits of intoxication I generally look for.
And what traits are you referring to?
Usually, if someone is intoxicated, they have red eyes, they're watery, flushed cheeks, they have poor motor skills, like spilling drinks and things like that. They're usually really loud and often hard to understand what they're saying.
How would you know about these signs?
Well, in order to work at a bar and be a bartender, you have to go through a training and then take an exam at the end. And within that training, they teach you about those traits as well as recognizing fake IDs, things of that sort.
based on those signs, have you ever served someone who was obviously intoxicated?
No, they have taught us not to, and neither have my employees, as they were taught that as well.
Do you remember if Miss Marks ordered anything while at the bar on March 24th?
Yes, she did. A little bit later that evening, I was the one who was taking her order and dropping off her drinks.
And do you remember the exact drinks that she ordered?
No, not exactly. I don't remember which ones were hers and which ones were Morgan Levin's, but I do remember that they were ordering at the same time. So they drank about the same amount as far as I know.
And would you recognize a receipt of these drinks if it was shown to you in court today?
I would, yes.
Now displaying on the screen outside the presence of the jury, Exhibit 17. Do you recognize this?
I do, yes.
And what is it?
That's the receipt for table 4, which was Morgan Levin and Jessica Marks's table on March 24th, 2019.
Is it a true and accurate copy of that receipt?
It is, yes.
Has it been changed or altered in any way?
No, it has not.
The defense moves to admit Exhibit 17.
Exhibit 17 was previously admitted.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, do you know if this was Miss Marks's receipt?
Well, this was the receipt for technically Morgan Levin. However, they were ordering these drinks together. So Jessica Marks's drinks are on this receipt as well.
And do you know which of the drinks on this receipt Miss Marks ordered?
And no, I don't remember.
And do you know if Miss Marks or Miss Levin received any free drinks that weren't listed on this receipt?
And not that I know of, they did not.
And do you know if either of them ordered any food while at the bar?
Yes, you can see that the second thing they ordered was chips and guacamole.
And who was serving Miss Marks and Miss Levin their food and drinks during the night?
I was. I would go and take their order and bring them their drinks.
And at this time, did you remember asking for Miss Marks's ID?
Well, I don't remember specifically. I card people every day working in a bar, but I'm sure I did. I do card everyone who looks under 45, and she definitely did.
And as you were serving them drinks, did you ever notice Miss Marks displaying any signs of intoxication, like you mentioned earlier?
No, her eyes weren't red. She didn't have that vacant gaze that people get. I could understand everything she was saying, and I didn't watch her spill any drinks or fall or anything like that.
Do you remember if Miss Levin ever showed any signs of being intoxicated?
She did. Over the night, her eyes started to get a little bit red, her cheeks a little bit flushed. She never got to that point of obvious intoxication when we cut somebody off, but you could tell she was buzzed.
Did you do anything about this?
No, I didn't. You don't have to cut someone off until they are obviously intoxicated. However, when I did notice this, I looked at Jessica Marks and I said, I hope this one's not driving home, because I thought that she didn't look like she should have.
Did Miss Marks respond?
Yes, Jessica said, no way, I'm driving.
Did the idea of Miss Marks driving concern you at all?
No, it didn't. When she was leaving, she walked down the stairs and she didn't grab the handrail or anything. She walked down the stairs completely fine, didn't trip, and walked past me. And I didn't notice any traits of obvious intoxication that would lead me to cut her off.
And if you did see Miss Marks display any signs of obvious intoxication, would you have cut her off?
Absolutely, I would have, but I didn't. And she chose to order all of those drinks on that evening.
Thank you. No further questions.
Counsel, you may cross-examine.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, on the night of March 24th, Jessica walked into your bar, correct?
Yes, she did, 9 p.m.
And she walked in with her friend, Morgan.
That is true, yes.
They went up to your rooftop
They did.
and they ordered some drinks.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the alcohol that you served to Jessica Marks that night. You would
Okay.
recognize a copy of Jessica Morgan's receipt, correct?
Yes, I would.
Now asking my co-counsel to screen share Exhibit 17 at this time. Now, you served them a bottle of wine.
I did, yes.
You served them 3 White Claws.
Yes, in between that, there was the guacamole.
You served them a draft beer.
I did.
Then you served them a Sierra Nevada IPA can.
Correct, yes.
And you never cut Miss Maida or Miss Jess Marks off at any time.
No, I didn't have any reason to. She wasn't obviously intoxicated, so I didn't have to cut her off.
My screen share may now stop screen sharing. Exhibit 17. Now, I'm showing you a list of drinks that you served. Under
Yes.
examination, you claim that you never saw Jessica Marks intoxicated, correct?
Well, she wasn't obviously intoxicated. That's true.
Now, I apologize. Okay, here we go. Now, you served her a bottle of Decoy Red Blend wine with a 14% alcohol content, correct?
Yes, I did. But in my training, we learn it doesn't matter the alcohol. If they're obviously intoxicated, that's when we cut them off.
You claim that she didn't seem intoxicated after you served them 3 White Claws with an 8% alcohol content each.
Yes, that's true. But there were 2 people drinking them, so it wasn't all Jessica Marks.
You claim she didn't seem intoxicated after you served her a Ballast Point IPA Blast, which is a 7% alcohol content.
That's true. She was never obviously intoxicated, or else I wouldn't have served her that.
And you claim that she didn't seem intoxicated after you served her a Sierra Nevada IPA can, which has a 6.5 alcohol content.
Again, yes, I wouldn't have served her if she was obviously intoxicated.
So that's a yes to my question.
Yes, she chose to order that drink.
And you claim that she didn't seem intoxicated after you served her 2 green tea shots, correct?
Yes, that's true.
And these green tea shots contain whiskey.
Yes, they had an Irish whiskey and another peach flavored alcohol in them.
And this was the last thing that you served Jessica Marks before she left.
That's true, yes.
Now, despite serving her 8 alcoholic drinks as shown here, you never saw her intoxicated?
No, she was never obviously intoxicated. If she was, I wouldn't have served her those drinks.
At this time, I asked my screen share to screen share the list of drinks. One moment. Your Honor, at this time, we move to enter this list of drinks into evidence as everything has been entered in trial.
Counsel, is there any objection?
No objections at this time, Your Honor.
My co-counsel may stop screen sharing at this time. Now, let's talk about what you're supposed to do as an employee of the bar. You're supposed to monitor tables, correct?
Yes, that's true. And I was doing that to that table as I would take their orders and then drop them off.
And you're supposed to ensure that you're not serving someone who is obviously intoxicated, correct?
Yes, of course.
And you visited their table 10 times throughout the night.
I did, between 8 and 10.
And you never thought that Jessica, in any of those 10 times, was intoxicated to you.
Again, no, I wouldn't have served her if she was.
Well, Ms. Maida, I would like to show you a video from that night. Now, you are aware that Jessica Marks was at your bar that night, correct?
Yes, I am aware.
And you would recognize a video of Jessica Marks in your bar.
I believe I would, yes.
I now ask my co-counsel to screen share Exhibit 10 at this time. Now, I ask my screen share, play the first few seconds of this video for purposes of recognition.
Hi everyone, Morgan and I are in Hollywood.
Now, you recognize this video, correct?
I do, but not from that evening. I was showed it just a little bit later.
And I'm now entering Exhibit 10 into evidence.
Counsel, is there any objection?
No objections at this time, Your Honor.
The exhibit is received.
I now ask my second chair to play the entire video.
We're at a bar. It's kind of like a Philly bar, except everything is really, really expensive. $10 for a seltzer. And everyone here wants to be a model or an actress. I'd like to thank the Academy. Mom and Dad, you've inspired me. Okay, well, go big or go home.
Now, you believe that from this video, she could have been intoxicated, correct?
She could have, yes, but I wasn't there when that video was taken, and I definitely wouldn't say she's certainly obviously intoxicated.
Yes, but she was in your bar when this video was taken, correct?
She was, yes.
And you would have been concerned if you saw her like this, correct?
I would, but that doesn't necessarily mean I definitely would have cut her off.
Well, to clarify, this video was taken in your bar, and you were told
Yes,
that it
again, it was.
Objection,
And-
Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Jessica Marks didn't leave your bar until 11:45, correct?
That's true, yes.
But yet you're claiming that the entire time in your bar, she did not seem intoxicated like how she seemed in that video?
No, not when I was around. Obviously, she was having a little bit of fun with her friends, but she wasn't obviously intoxicated around me. Absolutely not.
So she only looked like this in this video, and at any point in the time in the bar, the 10 times you visit her, she didn't look like this.
Well, I can't say she was only like that during the video, but when I was around, yes.
I would like to discuss with you the amount of alcohol in Jessica Marks's blood. Now, I'd like to share Exhibit 23. Now, as you know, as an owner of a bar, the legal limit of alcohol for a minor is 0.01.
I do know that, yes.
You know that the legal limit for an adult to drive with alcohol is 0.08 blood alcohol content, correct?
Yes, that's true.
And Jessica's blood alcohol content was 0.16.
Right, we can't give her a breathalyzer or anything. All I know is she wasn't obviously intoxicated.
Yes, but to clarify, that's a yes to my question.
It is, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Counsel, is there redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Now, Ms. Mehta, you were just shown a video of Jessica Marks. Did you see Ms. Marks acting that way the entire night?
No, she wasn't. When I was around, she wasn't being as funny and outgoing as she was with her friends. She was just ordering drinks to me and she seemed completely normal.
Did she ever act in a way that concerned you on March 24th?
No, she didn't. I never thought that she was obviously intoxicated.
Thank you. No further questions.
Is there a recross?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. The witness is excused. It is now time for closing arguments. Normally, we proceed directly to closing arguments, but I would ask, does anybody need a break? We normally don't take one, but does anybody need a break?
The plaintiff is ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Very well. Let's proceed with closing arguments. Let's all switch to speaker view. And plaintiff counsel, you may begin your closing argument.
Your Honor, I ask that I reserve all remaining time following my closing in chief for rebuttal.
Time is reserved.
May it please the court. Jessica Marks, a young girl, just started to live her life, walks into a bar and intends to celebrate her last few days with her friends. Little does she know, it's her last day ever. We had the burden to prove to you 3 things today, and we have proved those things. Number 1, that the defendant provided a beverage containing alcohol to Jessica Marks. Now, the judge will instruct you that Jessica Marks was 19 when she was served alcohol by Sonny's Bar. That is undisputed, members of the jury. Number 2, the defendant provided a beverage containing alcohol when Jessica Marks was obviously intoxicated. Now, today, you learned all of the symptoms that Jessica Marks displayed and all of the symptoms that were ignored by Sonny's Bar. The moment she arrived, she was already displaying symptoms of intoxication. Morgan Levin told us today, her best friend, who was there with her all throughout the night, that the moment she arrived, her eyes were already turning red. She already smelled like alcohol, and she was beginning to be loud and boisterous. There were multiple symptoms of obvious intoxication just at the beginning of the night. Morgan also told us that later on in the day, at 10 o'clock at night, or at 11 o'clock at night, she fell directly into Sunny Maida's arms. And Sunny Maida witnessed Jessica Mark not even being able to get down the stairs. She witnessed lack of coordination and staggering walk, yet more symptoms of obvious intoxication. But Sunny Maida failed to cut off Jessica Marks. She never cut her off. Now, at one point in the night, Frankfurt, a bartender at Sunny's bar, served Jessica Marks an extra drink, a rum and coke, which brings the tally of the amount of drinks she had that night or was served that night to Morgan and Jessica to 9. They served 2 19-year-old girls 8 drinks and a bottle of wine. Now, one of them was free. And later that night, Morgan filmed a video of Jessica Marks. This video was taken in Sunny's bar. And in this video, Sunny Maida admitted that she could have been intoxicated. She never cut her off and allowed Jessica Marks to get more and more drunk. Later that night, Jessica Mark leaves the bar. And at that point, all throughout the night in the bar, she has exhibited a multitude of symptoms that should be sufficient to prove that she was obviously intoxicated. Members of the jury, Jessica and Morgan ordered a red blend wine, 3 White Claws, 2 beers, and 2 green tea shots. And because we've seen multiple pieces of evidence and testimony that displays Jessica Marks having obvious intoxication symptoms, because at the end of the night, her blood alcohol content was 0.16. Members of the jury, that is 16 times the amount of a legal limit for a minor. All that evidence proves today that we have shown you that it is more likely than not that Jessica Marks was obviously intoxicated. And the third and final thing we have to prove to you today is that the giving of the alcoholic beverage was a substantial factor that contributed to the death of Jessica. Members of the jury, the police report determines that Jessica Marks died because she was under the influence of alcohol, because she had a blood alcohol content of 0.16. She drove off a ravine. Now, why? Why would she have a blood alcohol content of 0.16? You may ask yourself, members of the jury. She had that blood alcohol content because Sunny continued to serve her time and time again. Because Sunny's bar never cut off Jessica Marks. She is gone. Find Sunny's bar liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Defense counsel, your closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Claudio just showed you a picture of Miss Marks. She told you how young she was and how she walked into Sunny's rooftop bar on March 24th, not knowing it would be her last. She highlighted just how heartbreaking this case is. But members of the jury, don't let the emotions distract you from what this case is actually about. Choices. Throughout trial today, you've heard a lot about the events of March 24, 2019. The plaintiff wants you to believe that Jessica Marks died due to the actions and lack thereof of Sunny's rooftop bar employees. However, the evidence shows that it was not the actions of the bartenders that caused this tragedy, but instead, it was Ms. Marks' own choices that led to her untimely death. Now, the plaintiff had the burden of proof today, which in today's case was preponderance of the evidence. This means that the plaintiff had to prove that it is more likely than not that Sunny's rooftop bar is to blame for Ms. Marks' death. The plaintiff has not met their burden. They can't when there are too many factors out of the bar's control for them to be at fault. So let's talk about what choices led to this tragedy. First, Miss Marks chose to have a fake ID. Before Miss Marks ever even entered Sunny's rooftop bar, she had been acting carelessly and illegally, purchasing alcohol from other locations. She did this using her fake ID. Miss Marks knew that she was 19, she knew that she was underage, but she knew that she needed alcohol. So she went out of her ways to act discreetly and secretively to get a fake ID to get what she needed and what she wanted. Second, the bar could not control the fact that Miss Marks chose to drink under the radar. Today you heard from Miss Levin how Miss Marks and her drank at Miss Marks's Airbnb on March 24th before they went to the bar. They drank 1 or 2 glasses of wine, as well as there was an empty wine bottle just waiting in the apartment while they were there. And members of the jury, it's entirely possible that Miss Marks's consumption of alcohol in her Airbnb was what set her over the edge on March 24th, 2019. Additionally, when Miss Marks was actually at Sunny's rooftop bar on March 24th, Miss Meta saw no signs of obvious intoxication. She saw Miss Marks acting normal, sober, maybe just having some fun and letting loose with some friends. Miss Meta told you what she would have done if she had seen her acting intoxicated, what she would have done if she had seen the signs that she was trained to look out for, what she would have done if she had seen those flushed cheeks or slurring speech or red eyes. She would have stopped her. She would have shown concern. She would have made sure she didn't drive. That leads to the third and final choice, that Miss Marks chose to drive after drinking. Sunny's rooftop bar does not have control over how their customers get back home after they are at the bar. On March 24, 2019, Miss Marks chose to ignore her best friend's concerns. She chose to refuse a ride back home in an Uber. Instead, she insisted, she lied about her state and got behind the wheel of her car. She told her best friend that she had gotten pretty good at driving after a big night out. Miss Marks chose to get behind that wheel and drive. And ask yourself, if her own best friend couldn't convince her to get in an Uber, if her own best friend couldn't convince her to take a safer option, then how would strangers at a bar ever convince her to get away from her own choices? These 3 reckless choices that Miss Marks made ensure the plaintiff cannot meet their burden. But if you still have reservations, even after all of the evidence of Miss Marks's actions outside the bar's control, then the defense offers another answer. The defense has also raised an affirmative defense of comparative fault, meaning that we needed to prove Miss Marks's death was caused by our own negligence. We approved this comparative defense by highlighting Miss Marks's careless actions before and on March 24, 2019. From choosing to drink underage at her own apartment, to purchasing a fake ID illegally, to then drinking at her own apartment and then driving and then getting to the bar, ordering multiple drinks, and then getting back into her car where she put herself and everyone on the road in danger. Miss Marks's choices are what led to her untimely and tragic death. It is heartbreaking that Miss Marks had to die this way. It is heartbreaking that she died at the age of 19. But it would also be heartbreaking to punish someone for doing something that was not even in their control. Find Sunny's rooftop bar employees not liable.
Thank you, counsel. Plaintiff counsel, your rebuttal.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court. Jessica walked into the bar, and from the moment she arrived, she was already exhibiting symptoms of obvious intoxication. She could barely walk down the stairs. She smelled like alcohol. Her eyes were bloodshot. She was drunk, members of the jury. Now, it is inconceivable that with the blood alcohol content of 0.16, She never displayed signs of obvious intoxication. Members of the jury, we have proved to you that more likely than not, she displayed those signs with the video. We proved to you with the fall, and we proved to you with Morgan Levin's testimony. Now today, the defense is trying to blame Jessica Marks, a 19-year-old girl, for her own death. They said Miss Marks' choices led to her death, that she chose to drive. She chose to drive. Now, at a blood alcohol content of 0.16, that wasn't a choice. She wasn't able to exercise any judgment at that time. Now, you can take a person, you can blindfold them, spin them around till they're dizzy, and place them at an edge of a cliff. What the defense is trying to do today is blame Jessica Marks for walking off that cliff. They want you to believe that that is her fault after they blinded her and disoriented her with the alcohol that Sonny's bar served her. Jessica Marks walked off that cliff because of the alcohol that Sonny's bar served her, and because they never cut her off at any point. Find Sonny's bar liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. That concludes the trial.